At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Steven, I want to know if this is a good comment reply to someone on YouTube who commented about the latest photo news fix about DP review being saved. Their comment says, DP review is being archived. That's not the same as being saved. Well, in a way, the data is being saved. The operation of the site isn't. So in a few years, it will be close to useless relic of the past, which is a damn shame, but it gets better. Then they reply to themselves and say, also, video downvoted for the clickbait. Is my reply okay? F*** you.
So, Steven, do you like the reply that I gave the guy on YouTube?
Wait, did you actually leave it?
No, I didn't leave it because YouTube warns you. They're like, do you really want to say this publicly? We might block you if you do that.
Is it only because you're a verified user it says that? Because I feel like I can leave some nasty comments and I don't remember getting a recommendation to not leave it.
Yeah, but do you ever tell people to F off?
Not usually that way, no.
So then that's why you probably haven't gotten the content warning thing where it's like, are you sure you want to post this? It might go against our guidelines and I don't want to go against our guidelines. So no, I didn't post it. I thought it. I typed it. I screen grabbed it to share it later and say that I didn't actually do it, but it's so frustrating. We're going to talk about the DP review being quote unquote saved in one way or another a little later in this episode, but that's what the comment was based off of in the beginning of the show where there's the voicemail. It's really frustrating when people say dumb shit.
You should have censored your comment, like you mother beep, and actually typed out like beep.
Yes. Sometimes
again, my favorite is always when you would type a comment and then delete it, so they still get a notification and see what you wrote, but can't reply because it's not public anymore.
That is a good thing that I used to do. But no, I mean, it's like the fact that this person left a comment and then agreed that it's being saved, but then again left a second comment, a reply to themselves saying that they downvoted this. Thank you for letting me know that you downvoted it, asshole. Like, I give a shit that you're downvoting it because you're a fucking moron.
But that's my favorite is the people that will downvote it, but week after week they'll still come back and watch every single fix and just to comment something negatively.
I'm downvoting because this is clickbait. Oh, is it clickbait? You just said that they were saved in a way.
My favorite is when I comment back to somebody when it's like a new camera preview, like the ZVE one or something like that, and I'm maybe correcting them or giving my 2 cents on what they put about a spec here or there, and it's under my name, not the Jared Polin or Frono's Photo name. The best is when they're like, what do you know? Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, I made this video. I tested out the camera for a week. I was on the NDA call with the technical director of the company. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about here. What do you know?
Are you sure, Steven? Are you sure you know?
I like to think I know.
It's just frustrating to get those stupid ass comments. And I actually chose not to look at the views yesterday. I didn't look at the views until this morning on Photo News Fix. Usually I'm always checking right after, but I'm at the point where you post it, we come up with a title, we're like, okay, it's not going to change.
Yep.
Like, we're not going to change it. That was our title, and no other title would probably be a better option for what it was yesterday without being pure clickbait.
Exactly. There's a fine line that we're walking when it comes to clickbait or not.
Yeah, I walked that line, Steven.
Yeah, you definitely do.
I walked that line. No, but in terms of Petapixel, DP review being saved, we're gonna get to that a little later. But yes, in essence, they've been quote unquote saved. Anyway, have you paid your taxes yet?
I have not. I actually usually wait until the very last weekend to pay my taxes, which is this upcoming weekend. So
are you paying online or are you
I usually
mailing
just
it
do
in?
TurboTax. Yeah, I don't really have a complicated. There's not much to put in. I don't make enough, only 12.5%. So
well, Steven, I have like 73 pay slips here to do so many different things. I've got so many different. You got to pay the city of Philadelphia.
I mean, when you own 17 homes and 13 cars, that's what you got to do.
Exactly. Paying the city of Philadelphia, paying Pennsylvania tax, paying the IRS, paying estimated taxes for next year, paying off this. It's so complicated.
You pay quarterly too, right?
I do pay quarterly, which means that not only...
Which means you make a buttload of money.
It means, well, instead of having to pay a Lamborghini at the end of the year,
exactly.
I split that up amongst many payments, 4 payments quarterly. But that's
four
personal.
Standard cars payments.
Yeah, what kind of standard car are you talking about? Steven, what kind of what are you talking about? Like a Daewoo?
Something like that, yeah.
That was buy one get one free back in the day. It was buy one get one free because when the
car?
parts broke in one, when the parts broke in the one, you could retrofit it with the other. Just use the other as a parts machine.
That's funny.
It was the dumbest piece of shit car ever. A Daewoo. I don't even know how those things got down the street. But anyway, with taxes, I get all these slips and you're supposed to mail them in the old school way, but it's just much easier to pay online. And the fact that the mail doesn't deliver perfectly every time when you send checks, you don't want to have an issue. So I reach out to my accountant people and I'm like, well, why don't you include links to where to pay these things?
Yeah.
Right? Like, don't expect me to know this, even though I pay quarterly, to know every time. Because I went into the PA one myself and I logged in to go make a payment and there's no information on where to make a payment. She's like, oh, well, you don't log in. You have to just click make a payment. I'm like, well, how does that make any sense? And so that's one set. And then, first world problems. I know. That's one set.
You said it, not me.
Then I got to pay the IRS. It's quarterly shit. And so it's just like money going away. Then I got to get ready to close on a property. And that means that like all my money is going away.
Buy another place. Man.
Got to buy another building. And I got to hire people.
You got to spend money to make money, right?
Well, we do.
We definitely do.
We do.
You do.
So that's just the thing with taxes. Make sure you guys file your taxes.
Yes.
Pay your taxes. Get them out of the way. Do it. We pay our taxes so that we can. I have no idea why, other than the money can be wasted on something. And we pay more taxes than the wealthy pay taxes. And when I'm wealthy, Stephen, I don't mean me. I mean people making $100 million a year. 50 million a year, not me.
You're only the 1%, not the 0.01%.
That's I think I do fit into that at this juncture, so my accountant tells me.
There you go.
It's what happens when you start businesses and you do shit.
We're not making enough money, Steven. We're not making enough. We need more. Need to buy another building.
First off, that has never come out of my mouth. I've never said that. Have I said that?
You've insinuated that we're not making enough money at certain times.
Yeah, but not like in the recent years.
No.
No, it's been at a time where I got lazy and we needed to do more to generate, which was when we started launching presets.
You're welcome.
Yes. That's why you get 12.5%.
That's why I don't really owe any taxes, because I don't make enough.
Oh, that's not even true at all, Steven.
I'm kidding.
Stop lying to the people.
No, the reason I wait until like the very last minute is because I usually do owe a shit ton, and that's why.
Because of presets.
Because of presets, yes.
Because presets are there.
Oh, God.
Anyway, make sure you get your taxes done. I just wish it was easier. Like the tax law, we're not a tax law podcast here, but gee, why can't we do a flat tax? Why can't it just be everybody pays 15% of their revenue or whatever the hell it is and call it a day? No deductions? Because the deductions are the weirdest thing, Steven. I own buildings, right? And I'm allowed to depreciate this appreciating property every year. That doesn't make any sense. How can you write down depreciation on an appreciating on something that's making money because it's going up in value?
Got me.
Like it's just the weirdest thing. Like I said before, when you do research and development in the first year of a business and you can write off the entire amount take it over a 10-year period or take it over one lump sum, and then you just get the money back because you did research and development. There's so many loopholes in our goddamn system that it's frustrating.
How was your Paris trip? Did you write that off?
Steven, it was a business trip. It was business, purely business.
I hate that I can write things off, but I just wrote that trip off.
It's still my money, Steven.
I know. The best part, again, is always like, it's a write-off. It's like, well, you still have to pay money, though. It's not like it was completely free.
I do love that. People are like, oh, you've got to spend money at the end of the year because it's a write-off. And I'm like, you do realize that what all that means is that if you owe, say, $1 and your tax bracket, you're in the 28% tax bracket, that you get 28% deduction, right? Instead of a dollar, it's 70 whatever. I can't do my math right now. 72.92. Yeah, 72. So yeah, you're paying 72 cents on the dollar instead of $1. It's still costing you money. Like when my accountant
That's
is
what
like,
I mean. It's not completely free. Yeah.
Well, he's like, did you make any contribution, any donations?
Oh yeah, that's always my favorite.
Like, No, I didn't. I'm not donating to these stupid organizations. So no, I'll pay my taxes. I don't care. Leave me alone. I'll give Steven a bigger bonus. That's a tax write-off.
Well, again, with the donation thing too, it's like all these celebrities, they donated millions of dollars. Yeah, they donated millions of dollars because it's a huge write-off for them and less taxes to be paid.
Well, guess where they donated them to?
It's probably some loophole that somehow comes back to them.
Their own nonprofit that they started.
Yep.
So they start their own nonprofit where they have their mother and father and brothers and sisters and friends work and collect paychecks. And then the money goes into that system. And yes, they may dole 10% of it out to charity at the end of the day, but it's a big tax write-off. It's a big fraud. This is Welcome to Fraud Talk with Steven and Jared. No, Paris was, Paris is...
People are probably like, man, this is the fourth week in a row we're talking about Paris.
We're going to keep talking about Paris because I may go back to Paris. Don't Google One Night in Paris.
Oh, hey.
Do you know what that is?
No, I don't.
That's Paris Hilton's porn. That's what it was called.
Really?
One Night in Paris. You've never seen that?
No, I mean, I don't
either.
I just don't remember the name, I guess.
I think it was called One Night in Paris. Google it right now.
No, I'm not Googling it.
I'm Googling it. Incognito window. One Night in Paris.
Such a clever name.
One Night in Paris video. The exclusive Paris. It's on IMDb, Steven.
What's the rating?
Exclusive Paris Hilton sex video.
Is it like a
where
7
she
out of
and
10?
Rick Solomon's private footage of one hot and steamy night together is exposed.
Ooh.
Director Rick Solomon. Stars Rick Solomon and Paris Hilton. See production notes.
Does it say like where it was filmed, when it was filmed, total runtime?
Plot and summary.
Plot and summary.
The synopsis. It looks like we don't have any synopsis for this title yet. Be the first to contribute and learn. Synopsis. It's one night literally inside of Paris.
Wait, so again, what's the rating?
I didn't see a rating.
Guess not enough people watched.
Plenty of. She put that out. They put that out themselves, and it worked because she got famous for a long amount of time for being. It's not a bad video. If I was to rate it, I think the night vision could have been a little better, Steven. They might have wanted to have used a newer modern camera today.
It is rated. I just checked. It's a 4.4 out of 10 stars.
Why? What are people's
Wait,
what
are there
their
reviews?
complaints?
Let me see. Are there actual reviews, written reviews?
This is clickbait. I expected it to be One Night in Paris, like actually Paris.
I watched this video with my family, and all of a sudden we were in Paris Hilton. No, I don't see any actual written reviews. That would be funny though.
I got back from Paris, and I actually was jet lagged. I don't really I haven't experienced much.
Wait,
actually,
hold on. Sorry, I'm back to this One Night in Paris thing. It says that this won 3 awards at the AVN Awards.
Well, what was it?
Best overall marketing campaign for an individual project, best renting title of the year, and best selling title of the year. Wow.
Yeah, it was 2000.
That would have been a hot movie back in the day.
I think we went to the AVNs the year after, right?
No,
like 2015?
This was like 2004, it says.
Oh, that didn't say 14. It said 2004.
2004, yeah.
We were big at the AVNs. We talk about this every week. Not every week, but one day we'll release the footage.
Man, I still got that footage. Yeah.
Can we go over some of that footage again?
You can see it. It's on the archive on Dropbox. You just
send me a link.
It.
I want to see that footage to this. Anyway, let's move back on to Paris, not Hilton. I was a little jet lagged for a couple of days coming back, but I was in first class on the way back, Steven.
Oh, man, that must have sucked.
Yeah, so I had lay flat, 8 hour, 7.5 hour flight.
Did you actually have internet? Like, could you iMessage, text me? I wasn't sure if you were texting me on the plane or like while you were still on the runway.
One thing I choose not to do is to get internet on a plane.
I didn't know it was complimentary when you're first class, though.
Well, they also announced that Wi-Fi was not working on the flight home.
Oh, that sucks.
But all the TVs and everything still worked, so you had all. I don't actually watch the TV because in first class, the TV's too far away from me because it's where your feet go, and the TV isn't big enough for me to see.
Way too big.
It's just I can't see. I'm blind.
TV's only a 5-inch TV. I'm used to an 80. No, what is your TV? 161.
161-inch projection, 4K Sony projector.
What a life.
Yeah, whatever. So yeah, the TV's too small. It's only like 19 inches or something. I don't know. And it pops out from the wall, and I just couldn't see it. So I used my iPad. But a funny thing happened when I got on the plane. The flight attendant was like, "Oh, you shoot RAW, do you?" He's like, this, and they're telling everybody, they're like, "Yeah, this guy shoots RAW." And so,
were you in that One Night in Paris film?
Well, almost. So I'm standing in the in the there's a galleyway, right? There behind the first class, there's like they put out extra food and snacks, and I'm just standing there because I thought it would be good to just get up and not sit.
Sure.
And it actually turned out to be better. So the flight attendant person comes back. And they were like, "What were you doing in Paris?" And I was telling them that my friend was running the marathon, and here's some pictures I took, and it's my buddy Troy in the photo. And he's like, "Oh, sorry." The guy's like, "Oh, is he with you? He's cute? Is he with you?" And I was like, "No, I was with my friend. She's in the back." I had a feeling this guy was fishing. He was on an exposition. To try and spend one night in Philadelphia and
one night in Jared.
Yeah, one night in Jared, and I was right. I was very right.
How do you know? How did you get confirmation?
Because he's like, I said that this is my friend. And I'm not going to give her name. It's, is that like a friend with benefits? And I was like, what? I'm like,
how do these conversations even get to that point?
He went because he was fishing. And I know what he was doing because I understand fishing expeditions. And so he brings up that he's gay. And he brought up that he watched me put my bag up because we talked about working out or something, and he's like, "Yeah, I was looking as you were putting your bag up above." He's like, "I saw your butt." I was like, "Well, I guess that could be harassment." But all right, I'm like, "Thank you for noticing. That is my best asset."
You love it.
I wear yoga pants. You should see him in yoga pants. Ooh. So anyway, this guy was 58, right?
Right up
really
your alley.
Good shape. Nah, I'm not into men, and so. But I don't give a shit if someone has he was fine. He was cool as shit. He was very helpful on the plane to everybody. I got yelled at in first class again. You want to know why I got yelled at? And it wasn't because it wasn't in first class. Why? What do you think happened?
I have no idea.
It had nothing to do with sitting in first class, and it didn't happen in first class. It happened back where the peons are in storage.
Peasants, yes.
The peasants. My one of the desserts was well. Anyway, first course. Poached salmon. Poached.
Did you complain about the
shrimp.
food?
Not at all. Poached shrimp. That was a great little dish.
Wow.
Second, it was salmon with rice and spinach. That's like the greatest dish ever for me. That's all. Well, it started with mixed nuts though. Mixed nuts were good.
His nuts or your nuts?
No, it was his nuts. So he's like, "Here, reach in, get some nuts." So no, we didn't reach in and get some nuts. And the dessert options was like chocolate mousse. Ice cream.
No lava cake. That's it.
A cheese plate. First off, I chose not to have dessert because I'd still get home and have time to eat dinner at some point. But I got the cheese plate because my friend likes cheese. So I walked it back to her in premium economy. She's like, "I don't want it." So then I walked back into steerage where my other friend was. And I'm like, "Do you want this?" And I handed it to her with a fork and a knife. And as I walked back near to where the first class is, this one flight attendant guy goes, "You know you're not supposed to be giving food to these people," or whatever he said. And I was like,
"These people."
He's like, "You do know that." He's like, "You do know that you shouldn't be doing this, right?" And I'm like, "I do not know that I shouldn't be doing this." That's when 58-year-old flight attendant guy is like, "Don't listen to that guy. You can do whatever you want in first class." Oh. So he's like, that guy, he's like, I have problems with him. I tell him all the time, it's not a big deal. Just let it go. And so that guy was nice. Like he was genuinely nice. Great conversations. Got into some interesting discussions about his past, and private jet flying with a certain high-end executive from a very powerful music business, who used to have lots of parties on some place called Fire Island, which I didn't know Fire Island was a gay mecca for men and sex parties, but now I do.
Whoa,
Steven.
Okay.
Now I do. So I actually thought this guy was cool as shit.
I don't understand though. Why can't you just simply give the food, to someone in the back? Like, why is that such a big deal?
I don't know. Because
it's not
maybe
like you're giving them food and then ordering a second plate. You know what I mean? And just double dipping.
Even if you were, flight attendant guy was like, "We've got all this extra food that always gets thrown out here." He's like, "So what I do is I let the premium economy people come up because there's only 20 seats there. Let them come up and grab a couple of these sandwiches or snacks and whatever." It's a different world, Steven, sitting in first class.
So I assume the fork and knife is just like a plastic fork and knife, right?
No, not in first class, Steven. In first class, you get 2 forks, a knife, and 2 spoons. One is for your salad, one is for your main course, and it's a fork and knife.
I'm just thinking like having a knife on a plane, though. Wouldn't that be...
Steven, if you want, you can't kill someone with this knife. My fists are more of a deterrent than those knives.
Yeah, I guess. I just would think plastic, but whatever.
Well, it's plastic when you're in the back of the plane. They don't trust
That's
those
where all the
people
bad
with
people are the back of the plane.
We don't trust
apparently.
you with a fork and a knife, Susie.
He's like, sir, we only give the good people up front the metal stuff. We give the plastic stuff to all the bad people in the back.
That's right. That's right. My meal was very good, so I enjoyed my meal.
I hope people realize we're like joking, by the way, about all of this.
Joking about what, Steven?
Just about like always flying first class and you don't do it all the time. Like it's once in how many years you get to actually fly first class.
So when I flew international last year or 2 years ago during the pandemic to go to Italy, I flew in premium economy because it made no sense. Actually, it wasn't even premium. It was just regular, but there was nobody on the plane. So you basically were getting the full first class treatment without a lay flat seat. So it didn't make sense then. For this trip, it was $350 for me to upgrade after already paying for the trip to go to first class, which is not bad. Plus, I was making a sponsored video for the Insta360 Flow, meaning I got paid to go there. So I had a little bit of extra funds that I might as well have spent, and it's all a write-off at the end of the day, Steven.
It's all free, like we said.
Yeah,
I'm always basic economy with all the peasants in the back, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever, Steven. Maybe one day I'll
maybe one day
you.
my boss will pay for a first class ticket for me.
Dude, if we're going on a 2-hour flight, I think we all can handle being with the peons. Except for the fact that I've got executive platinum status now on American, so if there's an open first class seat, I get upgraded.
You get priority, right?
Hashtag, if Dan is listening, I will upgrade you to first class if you ever fly with us, and you'd let me know within 5 minutes of this going live
I wonder for press trips, if we tried to get him to come along and say he's another production teammate or whatever, would they allow that? But because DP Review, they were able to bring like 3 or 4 people sometimes on certain press trips.
You're right, Steven, and they don't even have 3 or 4 employees anymore.
Yeah.
So they would bring Jordan and Chris.
Yep, and then they would bring Richard Butler.
And someone else, at least 4 people,
and Rishi. Yeah.
Well, Rishi was the life of the party. Hey, Rishi. Rishi would get so technical, and then I'd bust his balls just to get him riled up.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys don't know who this guy.
Maybe
you do.
Rishi.
If you read DP Review, you would know that Rishi was the technical person.
Yep.
I would have conversations with him about. I remember having conversations with him about the Z6 when it first came out, and I was like, well, for sports, it's not terrible. And this was at the beginning, before all the good autofocus stuff came out. I'm like, I could actually use it. It's not terrible in the dynamic area AF. It's getting the job done. And he's like, well, it should have been this. Why did they get rid of 3D tracking? I don't understand.
I remember
why
he was real big on the 3D tracking thing.
And I'm like, dude, shut up. You don't even go take pictures. All you do is analyze bullshit. So anyway, moral of the story, in Paris, I lost 4 pounds.
Oh, is that good
because
or
of all
bad
the
for
walking. It's fine. It tones me down a little bit. It makes my muscles stand out more so that flight attendants can check out my ass as I put my bag up.
Nice.
That's really what happened. All right, now we're going to move into the DP Review story. For those of you who don't know, as a quick recap, DP Review is owned by Amazon for many, 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 many moons.
Since 2007.
They've been struggling. We've known they've been struggling with employees because they've shed employees for years.
Well, and
so anyway,
we've heard it on each press trip, like time after time, like it was getting worse and worse, and we were the writing was on the wall for sure.
Right, and everybody thought that it's like the prime destination for all things photo, except for the fact they used to be, but they've lost all their people, and Amazon at this point was like, we're going to shut them down. Well, one of the things I read is that they might be shutting them down to take a tax write-off, because they can possibly write down the entire purchase price, which even back in 2007 may have been $14 or $15 million.
That's what I heard,
It was cash and shares, but I wonder if they're able to do, if that's the tax loophole. Anyway, a month ago, they said that they're going to shut the site down, and it's going to be archived for like a short while before it disappears and is deleted altogether. People were upset, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, they reversed course, and it's going to stay up as an archive. Now, what would be smart for them to do if it comes from a tax standpoint, and I'm no tax lawyer because it still isn't tax talk, but what if they did a redirect URL, right? Put a different name on it and called it DP Review Archive, but they're shutting down DP Review.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe they still could find their way around it and do some sort of tax loophole. But anyway, it looks like they're going to save the site. It's going to be saved in terms of archiving, because Richard Butler, the last known employee that I know of, wrote that, good news, everybody, or we heard you, we're going, and then I'm paraphrasing, good news, we heard you, we're going to work on archiving the site, and in the meantime, while we do that, we're going to keep publishing stories for people who need more time. That statement makes no sense to me.
I really don't understand why you would put any effort moving forward to putting out news articles or whatever it may be on that website when it's going to be archived. Yeah.
Well, what doesn't make any sense is what do you mean people that need more time? What do the people need more time have to do with you putting up more stories? Maybe he's obligated to continue to work until his contract is up.
Maybe, yeah.
Which is the same thing that the DP Review TV guys are doing.
But I would assume they worked that out, and April 10th was that initial deadline, right? I mean, they've known about this for at least a month or two.
Yeah, but DP Review TV isn't starting on Petapixel till May 1st, which, again, from a business standpoint, is stupid. I told them that you guys are going to go 2 months without posting anything to the Petapixel channel. I'm like, I don't care what you do. I don't care how much work you have for DP Review. Do a shitty job for the DP Review thing at this point. It doesn't. Who cares at this point? Seriously, if you're obligated to put up a video for them, a couple more, do a couple of shitty videos. And I'm not saying you should put out shitty content, but it doesn't matter there.
There's no point.
What they should have been doing, at least 2 videos a month on the Petapixel. Go, guys, hey, while we finish up our obligations with DP Review, we wanted to put out some fun videos here on Petapixel to find out the direction you'd like us to go and what you'd like to see.
Well, and especially still posting on DP Review. I mean, is the YouTube channel, is that getting thrown out too? Is that getting deleted?
There was no mention of that. Live on.
I do think they'll probably keep it up because it's not hurting Amazon from keeping it on their servers or anything. It's all on Google and YouTube. But I just think that their initial announcement, which they made like the day that DP Review made their initial announcement, I think they should have held off on that until they were fully ready to start posting content right away on Petapixel. It should have been, hey, we're on Petapixel now, and then the next day followed by a video, and then maybe a few days later another video, and kept it cranking from there, because we know how the algorithm works. It doesn't really favor when people post a video and then 2 months later post a video after.
Exactly. So Petapixel now has 90,000.5.
Wow.
So 90,500 subscribers.
Man. Starting over again.
Yeah, but dude, what did I tell you? I said this.
So we both knew they were going to instantly. I mean, they're great people. They're good people.
The Petapixel channel had 11,000 subscribers from a dead channel that they started, right? So I said to Jordan and Chris, once again, you will have 50,000 subscribers in a week and 100,000 in a month.
Yep.
Okay. So they basically added 80,000, and they haven't posted since. If they continued to post, they would have their 100,000.
Yep.
But they're gonna. Whatever.
I mean, it was the same with DP Review. They hit that first 100,000 pretty easily, and then it was a little harder getting to that 300,000-400,000 mark wherever they're at now. But I think it'll be the same with Petapixel. They'll get that instant gratification of 100,000 subs, and then it'll be a little harder to build off that. They're going to be totally fine. Like I said, they're great people. They do awesome reviews, so no worries there.
Do they do awesome reviews, Steven?
Yeah, I think they do
awesome? You do? You think they do awesome reviews?
I do question, though, now, without having the technical advice behind, DP Review, is it going to be a little different, their reviews? Are they going to be as technical? Because I know that was a big thing. They had to always check back with the lab and then talk about what the lab found. Yeah. And then give their 2 cents after.
I don't consider them to be technical, Steven. I think their videos are very cursory, straight up. These are the specs, and here's some early thoughts of our first hands-on of using it.
Sure. Yeah. I don't think they're necessarily the technical ones. I think it was more, let's report back to the lab and see what they have to say about, this specific camera or product.
Yeah. So anyway, if you wanted to, I use DP Review as a resource when I'm trying to find when something was made, or Ken Rockwell, honestly, is usually easier to find.
Ken Rockwell is still my go-to, yep.
Yeah, it's just like, when did this come out? And it's like, let's go to Ken Rockwell's website when he didn't have a growing family. I wonder if his family's still growing, right? He has that son. I haven't been on
30 years old with his own family now.
I haven't been on Ken Rockwell's website in so long. Ken Rockwell.
Well, it looks exactly the same.
Well, yeah. Let's go to today's. Oh, his JPEGs look so bad. Oh my God, dude. His April 6th news. Well, he's just updating. He still does this.
Check his YouTube channel page out. I know he was posting a lot of stuff to YouTube and actually getting some views, but then I think he stopped.
He was getting
Did he
some.
Stop?
He has 52,000 subscribers. No, 11 days ago he put up an R50 unboxing.
Maybe
his
I'm not
thumbnails got better, dude.
His thumbnails were always like yellow font with just really vibrant yellow font.
Dude, his thumbnails have gotten much better.
Hold on, I'm
Go
looking now.
look. Like, Big R50 unboxing, 2,700 views.
Oh, there you go. See, he still uses the big yellow bold font.
Nikon Z9 tutorial from 9 months ago. So yes, you're right.
See,
11 days ago,
okay, yeah,
he did stop. 9 months ago was his last real video. Oh look, there's a Canon R3 tutorial. He's trying to copy us. Oh geez, here's an interview he did with someone. God, Ken Rockwell. Oh my God, this guy. Hi, I'm Ken Rockwell. I'm going to interrupt your conversation with some other conversation that I want to have because you guys are talking about something else that doesn't involve me. We're sitting in Hawaii because Canon brought us all to Hawaii, and we're at a table, and it's me, it's Steven, Ken Rockwell, and one of the Canon higher ups, one of their engineers. We're having a conversation about something. Out of nowhere, Ken Rockwell probably has ADD.
Oh,
definitely probably has ADD.
Oh, yeah.
Says something that has nothing to do with the conversation we're having. And I stop and I turn and I go to Ken and I go, Ken, did you just pull a me? Because I know exactly what you just did. You did what I've done in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Where if the conversation isn't what you want to have a conversation about, you just change it to something else. He's like, yeah, that's what I did. And then he goes on and he keeps talking. I'm like, shut up, Ken.
Well, that's the issue sometimes I have with you when we'll be talking about something very specific, and all of a sudden you'll mention something else, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And you're like, oh, I'm talking about this, and I'm like, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
But that's where my brain went, Steven. Try dating me. That's what women have said. They're like,
oh man.
They're like, you never listen. You always change the subject. I'm like,
you do.
No, I listened. I heard what you said, and now I'm changing it to something else. I acknowledged it.
I always say, I'm like, in one ear out the other.
I don't know what you're talking about, Steven. Anyway, let's move on. No, so it looks like it's going to be archived. I still don't understand the people that are like, I'm going to boycott Amazon. No, you're not. You're not going to boycott Amazon over this.
Oh, and you got to understand, there's a lot of tons of employees that work for Amazon, and they had nothing to do with this. So, I mean, I hate when people are like, I'm going to boycott this company because of X. It's like, okay, so you're going to make sure the 3,000 or 4,000 employees that work there are going to get punished because the CEO did something stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's you just have to make choices when you do these things.
Yeah.
So while I was away, you were playing with FroPack 4.
I was.
Well, I don't even have a full update on this yet. So
we didn't really talk about it. Yeah.
What happened?
I will say a lot of trial and error as usual. FroPack 4 is probably the hardest one I've ever done to this point because I feel like I've done it all already. So I'm trying to reinvent the wheel and think of new ideas. But the hard part is there's not a lot of new modern trends that have come in the preset world, let's say.
Well, you got to start setting those trends, Steven. Why don't we have... Yeah,
but it's still hard because, you don't want to just do something random and choose random colors and then it just looks like shit. It's just making a preset for making a preset. You know what I mean? It still needs to be appealing to the eye.
I do have to say that our presets, we know they work and they're tested across thousands of images, unlike many other people's presets that we've checked out. They just don't work.
Which, again, is why it takes so long to make these, because I do a lot of trial and error. I do a lot of testing on old photos, new photos. We've talked about this before, different camera manufacturers, all of that. So the only thing about this time around is I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do. We always try and set like a goal of 15 presets. I'm at the point where I've got about 10 and some change that I'm working on right now.
I think at least 12 is fine.
I agree. I think if I can, I would say at least 10. But 12 is what I would.
Deviations.
We do. Like, for example, FroPack 3 really has like 25, 30 presets because it's like fifth element matte finish, fifth element regular finish, or a vignette, no vignette, grain,
but we don't
no
like
grain.
selling it that way.
No,
we don't like selling those because they're just variations of one.
And very minor variations. It just makes it a little easier on someone. If they don't like grain, they just click on the other preset, But all they would have to do is just uncheck the grain part or set it to 0 if they really didn't want grain.
And at the end of the day, ours are still priced better than most people's, even if it's 10 and we charge $30 because they're on sale until the next one comes out. So FroPack 3 is going to go off sale at when FroPack 4 comes out. It's literally $3 at that point a preset instead of $2 a preset before. So,
and the other question too with making these presets is Lightroom has really advanced with their AI subject detection and all of that when it comes to masking, and now you can literally do adaptive presets where if I just want the sky adjusted, I could make a preset just to adjust the sky, and that's it. I can do a preset on just adjusting the skin. So there's one or two that I'm messing with, but I'm like, I don't want to. I want to keep it simple at the same
I don't
time.
know, Steven. I don't know. That sounds like a good idea to evolve.
Well, so they might be the extra few that we throw in to make it 15. That's what I'm thinking.
I like that, Steven. I like where you're thinking right now.
But I'm also not fully used to these adaptive presets, so I'm still trying to work out the kinks and what works and what doesn't work because...
You know who you should call?
Who?
Matt Kloskowski, to see if he knows everything about it.
Well, it's not just that. It's what I mean is like there's certain photos where the masking just isn't great. The AI detection is not doing its job, and it might, only affect the arm and that skin tone and not the face or something because it can't detect it. So photos
maybe we
that,
have to write that note
people
up.
might think it's the preset's messing up, but really it's Lightroom messing up the masking part for the adaptive presets. So that's what I'm a little concerned about, is relying on some of these adaptive presets when there's going to be certain photos that just don't work. But if it's just a standard portrait or a family portrait or something like that, they should, in theory, work across the board. So,
all right, I like that. So
yeah.
Why don't you tell me a formula right now? Explain to me one of the presets, one of your favorites right now, that doesn't have a name yet. And I'm going to put a name on it. I'm going to let you guys in on how names are created. Steven tells me what these things do, and then I come up with a name.
I will say I'm working on like Skittles 2.0, but that already kind of has a little bit of a name, and I won't get into that right now. But there's a very vibrant, awesome preset, and it's much different than what Skittles looks like now. Like it has a similar effect, but it's going to be much more accurate this time around.
I got it, Steven. I got the new name for Skittles 2.0.
What?
LGBTQAI+. Taste the rainbow.
The rainbow preset.
All of it.
It's
all inclusive.
I think my personal favorite one that I'm working on right now, think of it like if you guys do own the presets, like Fifth Element meets Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then they had a baby with Golden Grams from FroPack 2. There's a preset like that, which has like brown shadows, warm colors in the midtones, and highlights. I tweaked the calibration a ton to really manipulate some of the colors. It has like a steep S curve, and then the RGB curves I really adjusted to make that contrast nice and bold and stand out. But for me, skin tone has always been first and foremost with these presets, because I think a lot of people, I've always said it, when they do make their own presets, they don't keep in mind the skin tone. And I think when you really manipulate the skin tone, that really throws everything out of whack. And it's hard because we've got dark people, light people, everything in between. So it's, you got to kind of make a general standard preset that kind of works across the board no matter how dark or light your skin tone is.
I think I have a name.
Hard part.
I have a name for that one, Steven.
What?
This one, it just came to me. One Night in Paris. One Night in Paris.
Oh, man.
That sounds like a really good
sloppy preset.
Very sloppy. I was just thinking.
Oh, and then there's this old retro Phillies one I'm working on too.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say baseball. I was going to say we probably could use a baseball preset.
I know, but that's also like
Cracker Jacks. Cracker Jacks. Yeah. See, that's how it works.
I actually don't mind that. Yeah, but it's
Cracker Jacks.
It's also very limiting. If it's only when you're shooting like outdoor sports or something like that.
But I like that. I think that's a very important one to use.
But this one is totally different than what you're thinking of, though. It's more of like an old school Phillies, like 80s filmic style. Because it's when they had the powder blue uniforms. You took pictures of them that one day. I applied it to that, making it look a little more old school, and it looks really cool. Again, more of a very specific style. I wouldn't really be editing like that all the time, but that's what presets are for.
So I'm thinking, Steven, you could do Cracker Jacks for old school baseball.
I'm actually going to write that down. I do like that.
You write that down. This is how names happen, guys. Steven explains stuff, and then I just come up with these great ideas.
And I did a lot of the color grading in the midtone section, where there's a lot of like browns and stuff like that. So Cracker Jacks kind of makes sense too. I like when it's a unique name like that.
I don't,
but it still works with the cut, like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I've always liked that.
Yeah, and I don't care what it is.
Golden Grams. I've always liked that name because, again,
I like Prestige Worldwide.
That makes any cool looking photo made it into like a warm tone photo. So
I would like to see a sports type preset.
But sports, it's just like a Skittles preset. It's just a vibrant, nice, boomy preset. Which I can do that all day, but I've already done that in the past. So it's how do I differentiate it this time around?
Well, I don't want
someone that bought FroPack 1, 2, and 3 buying FroPack 4, and it's just like the same thing over and over again.
Well, so that is a good point, because like I was going to say, is this our best pack yet? And the answer is they're all different, and they all still work really well from 1 through 3.
I agree, but so far every pack, in my opinion, the creator has gotten better and better and better. I still think FroPack 3 personally is our best pack. I know it doesn't include Skittles, your favorite, but from a modern editing aesthetic, I think that one has the best presets for today. Just to wrap it all up, I think we are at the point where we need to start thinking about the FroPack 4 webpage, the video, all of the launch material, beta testers, stuff like that, because we are right around the corner. I mean, it's going to be very soon.
Yeah, beta testers are going to happen on the text line, most likely. That's where we can get the feedback or send people, because it's a smaller test audience. And I'll probably do something through Instagram, Insta stories, so pay attention there. But if you're not on the list, and I don't think this is open internationally yet, but 313-710-9729, that's the text list. I might send out some notifications there, like who wants to test this out or who wants to see if the page works, because we like to put the page up, have people test it, make sure that the sales work before I put out the full-on sales pitch. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to FroPack 4 because Daddy's got to buy another car. No, I'm just kidding. Steven's having a kid. He needs to build that nursery out. Hey, do I get invited to like a baby shower?
I don't think we're doing a co-ed baby shower. That is a thing,
Good.
But I think
that means I don't have to give a gift.
Pretty much women only, yeah.
I don't have to give a gift to the baby shower because I don't like giving gifts anyway.
I just feel like, I don't know, when it comes down to baby showers, though, I feel like it's such an old school thing where back in the day when you were really young having kids, when that was the norm,
back in the
20s.
Day when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. Those days are not reminiscent.
But when you had basically no money, that makes sense. You're having a baby shower trying to fund this pregnancy.
But when you got
newborn.
Steven money, it doesn't matter.
But when you make 12.5% on a podcast, I mean, that's some big buku bucks right there.
Especially when the podcast makes a lot of money.
We're in our mid-30s now at this point. We've got money. I don't need people to buy stuff for me, although I will say it is very nice, especially because we've helped out many other baby showers and given to other baby showers, of course, and now it's our turn. But I just feel like it's more of an old school thing because we're having babies a lot later now. Most people are, I would say.
I think Jews don't do baby showers.
No?
So
Okay.
Jews don't believe in baby showers traditionally because it's called a kanahara, where you are basically tempting the gods, and you don't want to start counting your eggs before they're hatched. Basically, is what I believe that was the baby shower thing for Jews. Now, I could be wrong. I'm sure people do it now anyway because whatever. I mean, I'm not religious or anything. I'm Jewish, but I don't practice and don't really give a shit. Like in Paris, and when I was in Paris, if you didn't know, I was in Paris on Passover.
Tell me all about it, Jared.
In Passover. So I did a Passover Instagram story where I wished everybody a happy Passover and then took a bite of a baguette.
Where was your happy Easter post, Jared?
What? In Paris? Why would I have happy Easter? How is Easter happy?
You're not a practicing Jew. Why would you wish that, but not happy Easter?
Because I was eating bread. I was making fun of it. So it's not like I had Jesus cookies that were hands that had holes in them filled with red jam. But wait, is Easter when he came back?
Easter is when he rose, yes. 3 days later after Good Friday.
Where did he go?
I don't know.
If he rose, where is he? And why are people still waiting for the resurrection of Christ? I thought he was already resurrected.
He was. That's Easter.
But then where do bunnies come into play?
I don't know. I have no idea what the Easter bunny, what that means, what it signifies.
I don't understand this religious stuff.
Hold on, now I gotta look it up.
Yeah, you look it up. The origins of the Easter bunny. The origins of the Easter bunny date back to one night in Paris.
The Easter bunny is a folkloric figure and symbol of Easter depicted as a rabbit, sometimes dressed with clothes bringing Easter eggs. Originating among German Lutherans, the Easter hare originally played the role of a judge, evaluating whether children were good or disobedient in behavior at the start of the season of Eastertide, similar to the naughty or nice list made by Santa Claus. As part of the legend, the creature carries colored eggs in the basket as well as candy and sometimes toys to the homes of children. So basically the Easter bunny is Santa Claus for Easter.
But what about the Jews in Germany? What was in the Easter bunny basket for Jews? I know, and I'm actually not going to say it, Stephen.
Oh God.
That's not good. That's a bad joke, Stephen.
Very bad.
If we edited, you would take that. I didn't even make the joke, but the Easter bunny hop into the Jewish house. Hi guys, it's the Easter bunny Nazi. Nein, schnell, let's go. Geigoden, Aschafüden, Atus Jesen, Aschen, Boken, Packen, Fucken. The language is just so angry. Unlike the Parisians who are like, "Oh, hello, Jared.
Very
would
sexual.
Would you like me to tickle your fancy?" Oh, I hope no one was offended. I mean, even if you were, you're listening. So, you could text in your offense to me at 313-710-9729. Let me know that you're offended. You're going to give it a thumbs down and that you're unsubscribing. Please do that in the comments below.
Have you ever commented back via someone on the text line, like something nasty? Has anyone really ever said anything bad on the text line to you?
No.
Because it is a direct, connection to you pretty much.
I think maybe there might have been once or twice where someone was an absolute asshole on purpose, but they just fake. But no, I actually think most of the people on the text line have been great. They ask questions, which we do have a question coming up later on at the end of this episode.
I mean, you would think that they're the diehards, the ones signing up for the text line, again, having a direct connection right to you. But it's also a good way for a dickhead to have a direct connection with you.
But you review more of the questions. I wish the app allowed us to but flag certain
some
things.
Some of the questions, I just don't even respond because they're so lengthy and asking a ton of different. I don't have time to really answer every single one. Yeah, it's tough. If it's a simple, quick question, sure. But when you're asking a whole paragraph worth of shit with 10 questions, I don't have time, man. I'm sorry.
I can't do the long one. I will message back to people in emails. I'm like, guys, cut this down, and I can maybe look at it, but don't write me. Like, I don't need to hear the niceties at the beginning. Really, seriously, if you have a question, ask your question. The best way to get your question answered for me anywhere is, hey, I'm trying to decide between X and Y. Here's what I do. Here's my budget. Done. Like, you don't need to be like, hey, I've been a big fan, long-time listener, first-time caller. You've really meant a lot to me throughout the history of me. And, and let me give you a little bit more of a backstory. And I'm like, yep, delete.
So it's like your emails, like zero context, just one-line questions.
Yeah, that's how I do emails. I've learned that from very important people in business that you
but
just
the hard
ask
part is
the question.
Sometimes I'll go back to try and find that email and I can't simply search it because there's no subject line, no nothing. And I'm like,
I'm getting better at that, though. I'm getting better at the subject line stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're trying.
I am. All right, news story. Nikon lens roadmap includes some lenses that I think are interesting. A 35 it doesn't say whether it's a 1.2, but a 35, a 135, and a 200 to 600.
Oh, they don't have a 1.4 though, 35 yet, right? They just have a 1.8.
That is correct. I think that the 135 I think the 35 1.2 would be baller.
Sure.
I think a 135 1.8 would be baller, and a 200 to 600 would be great for those people that just want a mass, the wildlife people that want to go out and do the wildlife things. I really think that Nikon is in a really good position when it comes to their lenses. Now, they don't have like 35 to 150 f2 to 2.8. Now, maybe Tamron will adapt that lens for them. Oh, the 70 to 180 was on that roadmap, which means a 70 to 180 Tamron rebranded Nikon lens would be a nice little option for a 70 to 180
have
2.8.
The more affordable Trinity. Yeah, just that Tamron Trinity branded as Nikon.
Yeah, they've made a choice to really stick with, with the 1.2 lenses, they have the 85, they have the 50. That's really a big deal, right? For them to do that, because Sony doesn't even have an 85 1.2. And so they've really set up a nice lineup of good lenses. They have
a really well-rounded lineup, yeah.
They don't have the middle of the road 1.4s. They have the 1.8s, which are light and okay, but they're not as good. We saw that with the 85 1.8. Remember the
when we were
tones?
testing it versus the 1.2, yeah, it was a drastic difference, yeah.
Just the color and tones and clarity that came out of it were so much better on the 1.2.
And that has to do with a lot of the coatings too, which we usually gloss over during a lot of the lens reviews. But there's a reason why that lens is nearly $3,000 versus $1,000 for the 1.8, whatever that is.
For sure. Again, they're coming out with some DX lenses, but they don't have modern DX bodies. They're coming out with these full frames, and they've got the Z9, and they've got the older Z bodies that are out. And obviously, we know there's rumors of the Z8, but we'll have to see what that is when that comes out. But they're poised to have a really good lens lineup. It's just, are the people still in existence to buy this stuff? And are there enough of them to keep them just going into the future? Well,
again, the great thing is they will at least have that legit lens lineup now, and all they need is that more affordable, body, that lower end Z9. That's what they need. They really need something that the everyday person can afford instead of a $5,500 body. And I think at this point, they've caught up pretty much with Canon and Sony. Sony still has obviously all the third-party glass and all of that, but they've got all the big ones, like most of the 1.2s, most of the 1.8s, all the 2.8s, the Trinity, all the basic stuff.
For sure. So it's going to be interesting to see what Nikon does. I think Nikon's going to be perfectly fine. I think that the people that love the Nikons love the Nikons. I don't see them being the number 1 or number 2 player anytime soon.
No.
I really think that Canon is going to pull away from Sony, and I think Sony is going to continue down their path. It seems like Sony's the one who's pulling a Nikon at the moment with not really moving forward and innovating as much as they once did.
See, but I think Sony is the one that's pushing everything forward. I think they're the one innovating and bringing this new, AI technology like we saw in the ZVE1. And I think Canon and Nikon tend to just be doing the standard, stuff that we've seen in DSLRs and early mirrorless cameras, where again, Sony's got more of that new tech in there, like that AI processor, the microphone stuff,
branding?
All that.
Is that just marketing mumbo jumbo again?
No, I do think that, we tested out that ZVE1 and there was a lot of cool features for a one-man band. And I think once that trickles down to the rest of their bodies, the issue with Sony is that they don't really do many firmware updates, giving their more expensive bodies the same features as their lower end, which you see with especially Canon. Canon tends to do that. Nikon, I believe they do that. But Sony's pretty bad with that. If you have an A1, you're missing a lot of features that, say, the A7R5 has, for example.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, Sony's still big, but the thing with Sony is, I think that the camera world, the consumer camera world and pro camera world is not their major moneymaker. Yeah. Their major moneymaker is literally making sensors and electronics and PlayStations. So it's like, do they get a DP review pulled on them where they're like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to continue to push this forward. I can't see them stopping it after 7-8 years of doing it.
I do wonder how big their consumer division of cameras is in terms of the entire Sony branch. Is it like 5% of the company? Is it 1%? Is it 20%?
Yeah.
How big is that chunk
revenue
of the pie?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Again, I think Nikon's positioned in an okay spot when it comes to the glass. I think they're in actually a good position for glass. Yeah. Now it's like, what can they do with bodies and where are they going to focus?
I think they're a little more affordable too. They tend to be like $100 or $200 less than Sony and Canon. I mean, granted, what's $2,500 versus $2,700 at the end of the day when you're spending that kind of money anyway, but still they tend to be a little cheaper, which is always a nice thing.
We shall see what happens going into the future, Stephen.
Yeah.
Well, next up is a question that came in, or maybe it's more of a statement, but it came in on the text line to 313-710-9729.
He wrote all of this in the text line?
I think so.
Wow.
Maybe.
Talk about a lengthy question.
Maybe it was in the text line, or maybe it was not in the text line. Maybe it was in a YouTube comment. I don't know. But it involves wedding raw file discussion. So let me read it to you, and then we're going to go into our answers for this. So this guy says, I wish customers would stop asking me for raw files when they don't even know what an actual raw file is. I always lose customers to this topic, even when I explain to them what they are asking for. I had to add a disclaimer to my site so people would stop asking me for raw files.
Wow.
In short, professional photographers typically do not release raw files to customers for two main reasons. RAW files represent the uncompressed and unedited version of an image. They contain all the data captured by the camera sensor, making them the digital equivalent of a film negative. Releasing these files would expose the photographer's work in its most raw and unpolished state, which could lead to misrepresentations of their skills and artistic vision. 2. RAW files are considered the intellectual property of the photographer. Retaining the rights to these files allows photographers to maintain control over their work and protect their reputation as an artist.
Yep.
And it says a RAW file is a digital image file containing all of the data captured by a camera sensor without any in-camera processing or compression. These files offer great flexibility in post-processing, allowing for... You know what? Do you know what my answer to him was, Stephen?
What?
Get over it. If someone is asking you for the RAW files, you know what you say? Sure. You can have the RAW files for X amount of dollars.
So
right?
Would you give them the native RAW file or a DNG?
No. And I went into this further.
Okay.
And I said, so what you say to people is you will give them the keeper RAW files, edited files exported as DNGs. They're still raw files, but they maintain your original edits.
Yep.
I don't have a problem if someone sees it. The way that I look at weddings is no one's coming back to me in 10 years. No one has come back to me from any of my past weddings and been like, hey, I want to order more prints, because I never push that. That's not my jam. I know Vanessa Joy does stuff like that, but I even had this discussion back in the day with Greg, who I used to work with when we did weddings together way back in the day on film. And he was always like, the negatives are our intellectual property. It's ours. We own them. Why would we sell them? I'm like, it's money. If someone's going to offer you $500 extra bucks, if someone's going to offer you $1,000, if you say it's $1,000, you can have the negatives and do whatever you want with them. That's money. I did this back in the day. A guy asked me, he was a photographer, an amateur. He was a doctor. He was an amateur photographer. And he goes, can I buy the raw files from you? My answer was yes. It's $500. Give me a hard drive. He gave me a hard drive. And I told him, you're going to get edited keepers and you're going to get the DNG files. And even if it wasn't that, I don't care. But here's the thing. I'm going to let you talk in a minute for your 12.5%.
Waiting.
He would say, I wish customers would stop asking me for raw files, and I've lost customers. See, that's a problem. If you are losing customers because of that, then you're not offering something. I would just flat out offer them. Even if it's, hey, it's $1,500 for these files, you can do anything you want with them in the future. They're yours. Do what? It's your wedding. It's $1,500. If that's what it is. And if you lose someone at that point because you're not including raw files, then walk away at that point. But if you offer a solution, I will be more than happy to offer you a package that include the edited DNG raw files of the keepers. I'm not talking about I'm never giving someone every single picture because that would be stupid. At least have something to offer. Steven, what are your thoughts? And did you ask this for your wedding?
I did ask this for my wedding, and she specifically said no to that. It is what it is. I tried. I offered more money. I did all of that, and she wouldn't allow it, not even like TIFF files or any of the more uncompressed file formats. But at the end of the day, I do agree with pretty much everything you said. The only thing I would be concerned about is if they did take these raw files, I assume they know how to edit these raw files or have a program to open up the raw files. They're going to need some, especially if you give them DNGs, they need an Adobe program to read that, which in turn makes me assume that they can edit. They're a photographer maybe themselves or something like that. But my concern would be if they're editing these photos that we give them, these raw files, in a specific style, for example, and then they're posting that on Facebook, on their social media, saying that, taken by this photographer, thank you for your help, whatever. And then it looks like that's my style moving forward as a wedding photographer.
I get that too.
Only concern would be them putting my name out there saying this was my photo, even though it's a totally different style than what I normally put out there.
Totally get that. Good point. I would then put something in my contract and make them aware of, do not tag my name at this point. And yes, you're losing out on maybe that. But what I would say is share my originals. Mm-hmm. Right? If you want to share on social media, share my originals. I'm not going to tell you can't share these edited ones on it, but it's just, I don't think it's going to be a problem in the long run because I just don't think it's going to be that big of a deal in the long run. I think people are going to get the files. They're never going to do anything with them. Like they never do anything with anything. It just sits there and they just were told that they should own the raw files.
And at the end of the day, even if they really wanted to edit these photos, they're going to take the JPEGs that you give them anyway and re-edit them, and they might look like shit anyway after the fact, and your name's attached to them anyway at the end of the day. So does it really matter? If they really wanted to edit them, they're going to edit them whether you give them the raw file or the JPEG, and at least the raw file will look a little better than a super compressed JPEG being edited multiple times. You can just include the presets for them. Here's the presets. Go ahead and use them. I don't have a problem. To me, it's about making as much money as you can up front. And if this is an added value, if this is helping you get more jobs and you put a price on it that makes sense, who cares? Get over this it's my intellectual property. Fucking get over it. It's a wedding. I think if we're going back in time, 10, 15 years when print was still a very big thing, and when it comes to wedding photography, it still is a pretty big thing, but usually they're ordering the album, maybe a big print or something like that for their wall, but they're not really going back and ordering a ton of prints after the fact, at least these days. Now, back in the day, that might have been a big thing. So maybe you were making a ton of money off those raw files when they would come back and say, I need to order the prints from you because you gave me low res photos and I can't really print from them, blah, blah, blah. But if you're going to charge them $1,000 or $1,500 to give them the raw files, that's probably how much you would have made anyway off of the extra printing. And now no one's really printing anyway. So I think you're going to end up making a lot more money by selling those raw files. As scary as it is to
pick a number.
Yeah.
Yes, I will. Yeah. So my answer to a lot of things in certain business situations is sure, there's a price with that. Like if someone wants
and I would have
to pay
gladly
for
paid for that price if my wedding photographer offered it. Even if it was $1,000 more, $1,500 is a little bit of a stretch, but I would probably do $1,000.
Right. To me, it's one, it's getting you the job. Mm-hmm. So would you rather have a $5,000 job plus selling the raw files, or no job that weekend because you lost a customer? Now, I'm not saying the customer's always right at all.
No.
If they act like assholes, if they're being dicks, if they're being punks and they're like, oh, well, we don't want to pay for them, we should get them anyway included, you'd be like, fuck off. Or you could just have a package on your website that says it includes raw files and you add an extra $2,000. Just pick a number that you would be happy with, because this intellectual they're not coming back to you in 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years and being like, hey, I want to order these prints. Just make it easier for them. And then they could be like to their friends who are also getting married, man, they were great to work with. They were easy. They were amenable. You're giving someone an option, and that option is getting you paid if they decide to take it.
And I don't know if that many photographers are actually archiving every single shoot they do, at least the raw files. I mean, maybe for a year or so. I know my photographer in her contract, I think it said I have up to a year to re-download the photos or something, but then after that they might be erased or something like that. I forget what she said, but yeah, I don't think many photographers are really keeping every single file. So if you come back in 10 years, I don't think they're going to have it.
Well, so I went back to the people that did my bar mitzvah photos, and I was like, hey,
Your
do you
bar
guys
mitzvah?
still... Mine.
Wow.
1994. Oh. So I went back. Well, they used to come into Allen's or something back in the day. So and this was maybe 10 years ago. I was like, do you still have these negatives? I mean, my mom was dead, I think, at that point. And
yeah.
I was like, I'd pay you for those medium format, because they use medium format cameras. And he's like, no, we don't have any of that stuff anymore. Not in business. You know what I mean? And it's just gone. See, that's why it's just like, I don't care if someone has the negatives. I don't care. We used to do a lot of weddings back in the day, which were turn and burns.
Sure.
I didn't care. Oh, yeah, it's $3,500 for your wedding, and I deliver you the files. And what's the difference if I'm turning and burning and giving them the JPEGs, or I'm giving them something else? They're still never used. They still don't know what they're doing.
Well, especially for someone like you, too, where you really don't crop or anything after the fact. Everything's pretty much done in camera minus the actual color editing in post. I think a lot of photographers do rely on cropping and heavily post-processing. So I could see a lot of people... What'd you say?
They suck. They suck.
I think a lot of people, that's what they're scared of, is giving these unpolished raw files that, it's a total Dutch angle and it needs to be corrected, or you have grandmama in the back doing something, you need to crop her out, and, whatever. So maybe that's why they're scared. I don't know.
But anyway, what do you guys think about this? You can send us a text message at 313-710-9729. If we were doing YouTube podcasting, you could leave a comment under the podcast. But Stephen and I did have a phone call with the people about the podcast thing, with actual YouTube partners, to get our questions answered. Stephen had 9-10 questions. So let's get on the phone.
16 questions to be exact.
He had 16 questions.
Very specific question.
And no, basically the answer is it doesn't make any sense for us to do YouTube podcast as an audio only podcast at this time. It doesn't make any sense to upload past podcasts because it will affect our video.
Will flood your feed if you're subscribed. It will flood your feed.
Yep. So their suggestion was
start a new channel.
Wasn't even
upload from here on, right?
Yes, upload, but do a video, and just know those videos may not get as many views, which we know from the past of doing RAWtalk. I don't feel like our whole thing was, why can't we just upload a audio file that people can just listen to on YouTube, or upload it as an audio file that's a video, because people aren't watching. They're like, well, we find that people sit there and stream it to their TV. I'm like, but people are just sitting and talking.
So we've found that in general, I think 60% of our viewers are watching on a mobile device, on a phone, for example. And I think a lot of people that are listening to podcasts are listening to, say, Spotify or Apple Podcast app, and they're listening to it in the background. Their phone's locked, or they're maybe browsing on a different site or a different app or whatever it may be while the podcast is playing in the background. The issue with the YouTube podcast, you can't simply simply listen to it in the background. You still have to have the app pretty much open to be watching it. Or if you do audio only, it opens up the YouTube Music app, which you can play in the background. But that's a total pain because you have to have the YouTube Music app, which we don't have. And I don't know really anybody that uses YouTube Music, to be honest. So no. It's just kind of pointless at the end of the day. I just think they need to have an option. They need to have a simple option of audio only. I can basically close the YouTube app for the most part, have it still playing in the background while I'm browsing other apps, just like the other podcast apps have. That's what they need to do to compete.
And then you guys can still leave comments and
yes,
all of that
and a
type
comment
of stuff.
section, yes.
It basically works as you're uploading another video and it puts it into a podcast feed, and then there is a separate podcast tab on YouTube that gets into an algorithm that promotes certain other people's podcasts. And the thing we said onto the phone with these guys, they're like, yeah, video podcasts are blowing up. They're doing really well. I'm like, yeah, we did that 12 years ago. Yeah. We started doing that 12 years ago. We not perfected it, but we were running 5 cameras.
Pretty close when we started doing the live streaming. I mean, we really had a solid setup, yeah.
We were doing it before other people were doing it, and we were doing it really well before other people were doing it. But one of the reasons that it's more difficult to put up video podcasts right now, and we saw this when we went live in the past, is when you take out certain parts. So Steven will go through this audio podcast and take out dead pauses, because they really slow down the listener's experience. They really interrupt a listener's experience. And not everybody cleans up podcasts the way that Steven does.
And I don't know if you are like me. I tend to listen to most podcasts in like 1.5, 1.8x speed, 2x speed.
2x. I'm 2x speed.
It depends how fast they talk. I think with our podcast, I think we already talk pretty fast. I always talk fast because I try and get a word in before you have to talk again. But yeah, I think a lot of podcasts, they leave a lot of those dead pauses in, which again, in turn, you have to listen at like 2x speed to really speed up the whole thing.
But the problem is, it's not like Steven can edit the audio, then lay it over the video feed, even if it's this Zoom video feed, and have it be clean. Right?
I'd have to do a full edit, yeah.
It would have to be a whole big deal edit. That's why we went to the live switching back in the day, to mean that it was less editing, but then it was less polished, because if we messed up or we said something stupid, you didn't exactly get to take it back easily. And that's the nature of the beast. And I get it. There's a lot of shitty podcasts that are popular today where it's just 2 or 3 people sitting there talking, and it is what it is. I mean, we sit here talking, but we like to do a higher quality, better sounding, more polished when it comes to the time that we spend, and not making you sit through the dramatic pauses.
At the end of the day, I just think YouTube is not ready yet for podcasts. I still think they're more in the beta stage with this new podcast tab. We're gonna wait it out, I think, for a little bit and see where they get. Because Shorts, same thing with Shorts. Like when it first came out, they changed a lot of things since then. And it makes more sense to do Shorts nowadays than when it first launched. So I think podcasts will probably be the same way once they figure out and work out, iron out the kinks.
But there's no reason. There's been people podcasting for years on YouTube, right?
Sure.
So it's not like it changes much. Maybe when they put it into the podcast tab, that helps them in the algorithm. But there are channels that are just dedicated to just the video podcast. I mean, Joe Rogan is that.
Well, the irony is that after the entire conversation we had with them on a Zoom call, at the end of the day, they were kind of like, maybe you should just do a separate channel and have your podcast on there. And we're like, that's the whole point, though, of this new podcast tab, is to not have a separate channel. Is to keep everything all in one.
We didn't like most of the suggestions because they weren't. The way that we look at it is like, we've been doing YouTube for 13 years.
They're not YouTubers themselves. That's the issue. They are the ones behind the scenes, the engineers, the creators of,
Well, they're not even engineers.
Or whatever they are.
They're partners.
The one guy seemed like he was more of on the engineer side.
They're partner creators, meaning they're the ones who interface with creators and give them the information that they're given. So when YouTube or Google gives them some information on something, they get that. They can go back to the engineers and talk to them, possibly.
Okay.
But I love when they're like, well, that's not how the algorithm works. I'm like, well, how does the algorithm work?
I know. I wanted to keep picking their brain. I'm like, well, can you tell us more?
Well, we try to get as much background information into things as possible, but some of it just doesn't. My main concern is if we put up a podcast and it gets 5,000 or 10,000 views, is that going to affect
hinder
future
our
videos?
Other views, yeah.
And they keep saying, well, no, it doesn't take a whole thing over your whole channel. It's like video to video, depending on the content. I'm like, well, how does the channel know what content it is, right? Like, How do they know this is a photo news fix? Yes, I put that into a playlist, but how do they know the difference between a review that's 20 minutes and a podcast that's an hour and 10 minutes?
Well, my biggest thing is we've always known that anytime we put out a new video after we published another video a day or two prior, it pretty much kills that other video's views immediately the second we hit live on the new video.
Cuts them in half.
So
to a third.
Really worth cutting those views in half or to a third by putting out a podcast on YouTube that will only get 5,000 to 10,000 views? You know what I mean?
But on the flip side, if the watch time is really good and people are the dedicated followers,
sure.
If you've got 10,000 or 20,000 dedicated followers, that's more powerful than 100,000 or 1 million people watching a short that don't give a shit about your trick-or-treating candy. And let me explain the trick-or-treating candy statement right there. Pat Flynn, he's another guy who's been making YouTube videos for a long time, who started a second channel 2 years ago. Well, it was a new channel on Pokemon, gets about 500,000 views per video, has 600,000 plus subscribers, doing like 10 to 15 million views a month.
Wow.
For a Pokemon channel is great. He does 20-minute videos, 25-minute videos, and people watch them. The watch time is consistent, a straight line across the board. And he put out a video on his passive income channel, which never really blew up or got super big, but was beneficial for him, talking about why shorts are not the right way to go. That a short is like trick-or-treaters on Halloween. They go to the house that has the best candy, but they may only show up once a year. They forget about you the rest of the time.
Sure.
They're not the dedicated fans or followers. Whereas if you're making long form content, you're starting to have a conversation with people. They're getting a look inside of your life. If you have a podcast and then a vlog and then long form other content or whatever, they start to feel invested in you. So you're better off having 20, 30, 40, 50,000 invested subscribers than vanity numbers of short followers in the millions who don't actually give a shit because they just want that next candy kick, and they'll get it wherever they get it, whether it's you or someone else.
Well, and shorts really aren't searchable. I mean, once you get into...
It's dead.
Once you go into that shorts feed, it's literally like TikTok where you're aimlessly scrolling next, and the algorithm is feeding you more shorts based on what you normally watch. But you're not really going out and searching shorts on creators' channels. So you really are getting fed whatever, and you're just mindlessly scrolling. So I just, like you said, it's vanity numbers at the end of the day. I mean, it was fun to experiment with and play with, and we did get some decent views, especially on that first one we put out.
And it's enticing.
And I do like it to kind of go together with a normal long form video. It is nice to kind of put out a mini form video in
But
a
I didn't like
form.
their idea. What the creator was
said,
the other day.
Didn't they say just cut
make
it down?
a cut down.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a section from it. I'm like, but that's what you're not supposed to do.
Exactly. Our big thing was always making a separate dedicated video for a short, not just simply cutting down a long form video.
Exactly, Stephen. Exactly. That's why you get paid the big bucks and owe so much in taxes.
12.5%. Yeah.
Welcome to Tax Talk. We're going to end it, Stephen. We're going to end this episode.
Let's do it.
We're at 46, right? This is episode 46 at this point?
I believe so, yeah.
Crazy. Almost a full year of doing this.
About a full year, almost. June, I think, is a year.
We haven't skipped weeks. You've skipped weeks because you've been away.
2, yeah.
I had Vanessa on.
Manny on once.
Yeah, well, Manny's never coming on again. Not because I don't love him, but Manny on a podcast is like pulling teeth sometimes. And yes, I did say that. You can tell him I said that.
We love Manny.
I still love Manny either way. So You guys want to text us 313-710-9729. Let us know what you think through there. Feedback is always welcome. You can go and give 5-star ratings if you'd like on iTunes, as well as I don't know what the hell you can do on Spotify.
Spotify, you can just simply star 1 through 5. Give us 5 stars, please.
Yes, 5 stars for our egos. And then that's it. That's it, Steven. I'm going to go. I want to do some lunch. We got a bunch of work to do. You got to finish FroPack 4 or whatever the hell you're doing. And you're probably sweating in your room because you turned the air off and it's hot out
It's
today.
a good 78 degrees, nice and toasty in this room right now. A little sweaty.
Nice.
Yep. My Thompson teas aren't on right now, so.
Unbelievable. He's trying to get more plugs in that he doesn't get paid for. Thompson Tees.
If you're listening, Thompson Tees, please send me some more sweatshirts. Literally,
#send Steven some sweat shirts. All right, Steven, thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
All right, guys. Jared, PolinFronosPhoto.com. See ya.